Hey, what's good, Power People? This is the Power Living Purpose podcast with David C. Henderson, and this is the health tip of the week. This week's tip is sponsored by American Health and Fitness Services, which is virtual and in-home fitness services that are available nationwide virtually and in-home and on-site in the central Alabama area and are expanding to other cities and areas. The website is AmericanHealthFit.com. Again, that's AmericanHealthFit.com. All right, and the tip for this week is called the huge financial and athletic risks of skipping students. Okay, so last week I gave a summary of why the practice of children being allowed to skip grades is an absolutely horrible idea. Not only can it automatically make a child feel out of place because of the 1 to 2 year age difference among classmates, but it also opens up a large potential problems in terms of bullying and illegal dating. Then, on top of that, when your child arrives on the college campus as young as 15 or 16, like I did, or even a young 17, the end result is actually a teenager being thrown out in the world 1 to 3 years younger than the age of 18 or 19, which is the age at which the laws of society and the norms of society are prepared to receive them at. Personally, I think about all the partying I did as a freshman at Stillman College. Didn't help that my roommate was 21 also. And the fact that I also pledged a non-Greek fraternity my freshman year. And it kind of blows my mind to look back and say, man, I was 16 when I got there. I turned 17 my freshman year. And I was doing all that partying at that age. We typically think of 16 to 17 year olds being in the 11th grade in high school and just learning to drive, not off partying it up in college multiple days per week. Now, let's go a step farther, though, and just imagine if I had skipped 2 grades, which means I would have got there at 15 and turned 16 my freshman year. Wouldn't have been able to even old enough to drive, and definitely should not have been doing all that college partying at that age, but had a student ID, so you can get into the college party. So, needless to say, when our children are 15 to 16, we normally don't expect them to be out in the world on their own, surrounded by 19 to 22 year olds. Most freshmen actually turning 19, partying hard on a college campus. For multiple reasons. And I do thank God I turned out okay. But I actually did witness a fellow student who also came in on on academic scholarship like me, and who was also a skip student who was a year younger because he had skipped a grade, who did end up falling victim to college life and also substance abuse, and did not maintain his grades, ended up losing his full academic scholarship and had to go back home. Now, I know it's only a 1 to 2 year difference, but between the maturity level of a 15 to 17 year old versus a 19-year-old, there's a difference. No matter how book smart you are, there's still a difference. Now, uh, as I stated last week, some people will point out to the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. skipped 2 grades and went to Morehouse at age 15, and it worked out for him. And I said I was going to point out all the reasons why that is not a fair comparison compared to today's students. However, I'm going to wait till next week to do that because I forgot about the two monumental ways of how skipping a child can be an enormous financial liability as well as athletic liability. First, like I said before, we know that the prefrontal cortex of the brain is still developing all the way up to age 25. So every year is actually an advantage when you put, age versus age. So let's look at the situation in 11th grade and 12th grade when I was taking the ACT and SAT at the age of 15 and 16. And that time I was competing against students who were 17 and 18 from all over the country for the same college scholarships. College tuition had already started getting on up there in the 90s, and in 99 when I graduated, tuition was high already. So now it's through the roof. And many college scholarships today are worth 6 figures, 100,000 or more. Now let's pull back some and just think on the local level. That 1 to 2 year age difference of a skip student also means stiffer competition at their school against classmates for valedictorian and salutatorian and the ranking in their class. who is a student who is typically 18 years old and who is typically guaranteed a college scholarship just by being the valedictorian or salutatorian. Then, after those two top spots, you're competing for the rank, number three, number four on down. Personally, I did graduate in the top 10 students in my class. However, had I been in my correct grade, I very well may have been the valedictorian or salutatorian, which makes a huge difference in those scholarships. And while I do, thank God, once again, I did get a full academic scholarship at the last minute, literally the last minute. It was very close and nerve wracking. And I truly believe if I had been in my proper grade, in my 17, 18-year-old brain versus my 15, 16-year-old brain would have had that time, extra time to prepare and for the test, the ACT, SAT, and I think I would have done a little better. Also, if I had stayed in my correct grade, like I said, could have been valedictorian. I don't remember who was the valedictorian for the class after me in 2000, and I'm sure they were smart and everything, but I think I could have given them a run for their money. I think I could have taken them down. But hey, I guess we'll never know. So, also, here's the other issue is athletics. Skipping a student also causes potential dangerous problems in sports because varsity and junior varsity are based on grade, not based on age. So seniors and most times juniors are not allowed to play down on junior varsity, and they must play varsity if they're playing. So if a child has skipped a grade or two, then they might only be 15, 16-year-olds in 15 to 16 years old in the 12th grade, which means they're out there on the field or the court competing against or getting tackled by or competing against 18-year-olds who are typically bigger, faster, and stronger than most 15, 16-year-olds. Also, during recreational and summer leagues, many of these teams are classified by grade instead of age, which doesn't make sense for this reason. Because in many cases, the leagues also allow a student who had to repeat a grade to play in their current grade, which means they're older than everybody. So once again, now you have a student out there, if he's a skip student or she's a skip student, playing against somebody 2 years older than them, bigger, faster, and stronger. And last, the height difference in most sports is an advantage. So when you turn 18, that last year of high school, you may grow an inch or two. But if someone has skipped a grade, they're already gone to college. They had to play at their 16 and 17-year-old height, which means they could have missed an inch or two, which could have helped them stand out and get that athletic scholarship if they were skilled as well. Now, let's just say that that let's look at Kobe and LeBron, for example. Like, they were so good in high school that they were able to go straight to the pros when it was allowed. But even they didn't have to compete against people 2 years old, 2 years older than them. So they were the right age in college, in high school. So they're not even somebody immensely talented as them didn't even have to face that 1 to 2 year age advantage. And again, with the price of many colleges around $20,000 to $50,000 a year, that skip student who may no longer be a standout athlete, or you may just miss it by just a little bit, just because you were, 1 year behind. You're not as big, you're not as fast, you're not as strong by that 1 year. That can mean everything in terms of losing a scholarship over somebody who is a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, a little taller. And so I just really encourage every parent to really stop. Principals, administrators, superintendents, just stop it and think long and hard before allowing a child to skip a grade. I mean, at the end of a 40-year career, 1 year is not going to amount to a hill of beans. Even 2 years is not going to make a difference. In the end of a career, and you look back, that 1 to 2 years is not going to make a difference whatsoever. However, it can throw off all kind of stuff mentally, socially, emotionally, physically, academically, athletically, financially, all that stuff. It's not worth it. There's no way possible that it's worth it. And then you have the child geniuses who say, like, 12 or 13-year-olds, they're ready to go to college. Well, I mean, that's totally different. they're not really trying to fit in with their age group necessarily, academically, if they're going that far above and beyond. So I just really just say in the short run, it can be problematic, and in the long run, it can be problematic too. So just please let the children stay in their proper grades. I guarantee you they'll have a better chance at academically, athletically, mentally, socially, all of that stuff. And as I promised, next week we'll take a look at Martin Luther King Jr.'s example of when he went to college as a 15-year-old freshman, why his situation was very different and why we shouldn't use that as an example compared to today. All right, well, as always, have a healthy week, stay strong, and stay powerful, my friends.